As we record this week's podcast, today is the first day of winter, with a major winter storm taking aim at the Midwest, bone-chilling temperatures. And against that backdrop, we're going to talk global warming and the politics of climate change. Also, with a week to go on my temp tag on the new vehicle, I actually got it titled and licensed. How is this possible? We'll explore the state of personal responsibility in this country. That, plus the news of the day on this episode of Dale Carter's America.
From the heart of flyover country, he's not on the far right, and he's certainly not on the far left. Like you, he's somewhere in the middle. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, first of all, this is our Christmas episode, and I'm wearing my ugly sweater today. My wife actually got this for me. It says Dog Dad, and this is why you really need to watch us on Rumble or YouTube, because you miss so much if you don't. Because this is my Dog Dad sweatshirt, ugly sweater, and it depicts our older Sheltie Magic. Can you see? I don't know. He's over here. He's the brown one. And then we got a gray one. That's Baby Harry. So Baby Harry was born on
So you got
August
that custom made? Does it have their names
Yeah,
on it too?
It does.
Oh, nice.
Jennifer had this done.
Oh, that's cool.
It apparently she had it done quite a while ago, but it was on a slow boat from China, and it finally got here.
Nice.
So I'm wearing that today in honor of my puppies. It's Christmas. Are you feeling the Christmas spirit?
Of course, always.
And
I'm not wearing anything Christmas.
I know, nothing at all. I mean, geez.
Yeah, we went and saw A Christmas Story, KC Rep last night, so
Yeah.
we got all the feels yesterday.
And you'll definitely feel, actually you won't feel anything when the temperature goes below zero and we get snow and a blizzard and all that.
Especially with these long-ass, bony-ass fingers. They freeze so quickly.
Good luck.
I'm not good in the cold.
All right. I'm not either. In fact, I'm counting down to my retirement. Right now I have that date pegged as September 26, 2031. Not that we're counting. Yeah. And then I want to move someplace that it never snows and we never have winter storm warnings and, wind chill advisories and warnings and all that. Maybe I'll go to Mexico. It's really nice down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Why do they want to come here? I don't know, because they've got better weather. I mean, there's a flood of them coming across the border on the southern border at a time when we're going to have hideous weather here in this country. I think we should, and I'm kind of doing this off the cuff here, Kurt, but I think we ought to trade countries with them. They can all come here, right?
Yeah.
And we'll go there, and we'll rebuild what we built here down there, only we'll do it with better weather.
Do you think they're bringing winter coats with them when they cross the Rio Grande?
No, but they've all got Joe Biden for president T-shirts. Yeah. We know that for sure. Okay, Title 42 was the policy put in place during the Trump administration to basically give Border Patrol at least one more thing that they could use to slow down this wave of immigration. Immigration. See, the language, they're starting to get to me too.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
Illegals. They're not immigrants.
Yeah,
they're not migrants.
Yeah, exactly. Like even Republicans now are starting to say migrants instead of illegal immigrants.
So, if you believe like we do, you should get like a rubber band for your wrist, and every time you say migrant or undocumented, just pull that rubber band out and pop yourself
how
right in the wrist.
How about you get a shock collar and then I have the button, and every time you say it, I'll shock you.
That would train me really quick, Kurt, because I'm averse to pain. Okay, so SCOTUS got involved here and said, wait a minute, let's put a stay on this, let's think about this. And then the Biden administration had until yesterday to respond, which they did, and they said, hey, we want to end it, but not exactly right now. We want to wait a week.
We want to end it, but it's working too well, so can you give us some time to figure something out first?
Crazy, right? Okay, I don't know where that's going to go. Title 42 is a Band-Aid. It's not a fix. Right. And at some point, we've got to get grown-ups in the room. And I know that they're like little kids, Kurt. They fight over two different things, border security and an immigration policy that makes sense. I wonder why we can't do both.
Yeah. I mean, but in the terms of negotiating immigration, the problem that we've had for the last 40, 50 plus years is that we always start with amnesty, and we never start with securing the border. We never start with actually controlling who's coming into the country. And even under Republicans, the famous Gang of Eight bill that happened with Marco Rubio and all them back in the Obama years, they wanted to get border security, but then the Democrats, negotiated their way out of it, and we didn't get border security. So every time it's happened, we always start with a path towards citizenship, amnesty, allowing more benefits and taxpayer money to go to these illegals, and we never actually fix the border. So we need to just do that by itself in a bill by itself and fix the problem, and then maybe we can talk about these other things. But even then, we already have too many.
All right. Want to thank our sponsors here before I get too far into the podcast today. First of all, Bob Watson, who's been with us since the very beginning. We thank him so much for being a big part of our podcast here. He's my State Farm agent, and he's been a State Farm agent for 5 decades, helping folks right here in Missouri and Kansas. His office is in Blue Springs. He'd love to talk to you about your insurance needs, especially as you come near the end of the year, because that's when homeowners policies come up for renewal and all that. And State Farm has surprisingly great rates. And with Bob Watson and his team, you're going to get exceptional service. 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, boats when we get a little bit warmer. I don't know that you could use a boat as cold as it's going to be, but spring, summer, when we get there, we'll be doing that as well. Licensed in Missouri and Kansas, an all-around great guy who believes as we do. So as you hear the opinions unfolding here, if you're like, yeah, that's how I feel, go see Bob Watson, because he is definitely on our team at State Farm. Also want to thank Jim Dingman. Jim Dingman runs Funhouse Pizza, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Jim had that fundraiser going for Old Shep's. Was that the name of it?
Yes.
Wonder how that's going. Is that still going on? Shep's Place.
3,000 raised of 3,500, so they still have a little ways to go. So if you're watching this, please donate. It's a senior dog sanctuary, so it's a very unique cause that not a lot of people are paying attention to, and it's in honor of his late wife, which is also very important to him.
Yeah.
So, and important to us, of course, as well. So please take the time. It's on Facebook. You can find the link on the Funhouse Pizza Lee's Summit Facebook page, and he has it linked right there, and you can go and donate.
Audrey was a really special lady, and I know Jim misses her every day. And so whatever he can do to honor her, he's going to do that. And we're going to help him do that, because Funhouse Pizza, a big part of Dale Carter's America, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs, a great place to take your entire family. The Omnibus bill, it's out. It's over 4,000 pages. It spends another $1.7 trillion, which is money we don't have. It's going right to the debt, where we're already $31 trillion in debt. Kevin McCarthy, I thought, people are wondering about whether he's strong enough to be Speaker of the House. And I know there are some models that have been drawn up to where he's not going to win election as Speaker of the House. But I thought he raised a great point. Why would any Republican vote for this, knowing that the Republicans are going to take over the House next month? Why would any Republican vote for this? We go to the Senate side, where Rand Paul, who has been a budget hawk the entire time, love him or hate him, he's definitely a budget hawk. And like me, he looks at that growing debt going, my God, at some point we're going to have to pay this.
Yeah, 100%.
So you found the clip here, and I've watched it already, and I think he just sums it up so well about where we are, how we got here, and what we ought to do moving forward.
I brought with me the Omni, 4,155 pages. When was it produced? In the dead of the night, 1:30 in the morning when it was released. Now, people argue that it's conservatives' fault. You don't have the Christmas spirit. Somehow you're holding up government. Well, whose job is it to produce this? The people in charge of spending, the people in charge of both of the parties. When did they know that this would be necessary? Well, it's in the law, September 30th. You got 9 months, almost 10 months, to produce a plan, to have a spending plan. They weren't ready on September 30th, so they voted themselves 90 more days. They weren't ready last week either, so they voted themselves another week. And now we have it at 1:30 in the morning this morning. But what's the clamor? The clamor is to vote. Vote now. Let's get it done. Why are you standing in the way of spending? Well, the real question is this. What is more dangerous? What is more dangerous to the country? $1.1 trillion in new debt, or as Republican leadership likes to say, oh, but it's a win. It's a big win. We're getting $45 billion for the military. So which is more important? Which threatens the country more? Are we at risk for being invaded by a foreign power if we don't put $45 billion into the military? Or are we more at risk by adding to a $31 trillion debt? I think the greatest risk to our national security is our debt. The process stinks. It's an abomination. It's a no-good, rotten way to run your government. $6 trillion entity, and they want 24 hours to process this, and then they want to go forward. I will be demanding 2 amendments. One, that this goes against the budget rules. The pay-go rules say you can't do this. You can't have all this new spending unless it's offset. We will also be demanding that the pay-go rules are increased. Instead of taking 60 votes to evade the rules, we're going to ask that it be a 2/3 vote to evade the rules. The American people don't want this. They're sick and tired of it. They are paying for it through the nose with inflation. Adding $1 trillion to the deficit will simply fuel the fires that are consuming our wages and consuming our retirement plans. It's a terrible system. Someone needs to stand up. We're standing up, and we're going to say no.
Rand Paul makes some really great points in there, and one of them that you may have missed there, he wants to raise the voting limit from 60 votes, which would take care of cloture, to 67, which the Constitution calls for at a 2/3 vote, because there are senators like Roy Blunt, who's leaving, Mitt Romney. You can name off the list.
Right.
They're going to vote for this thing.
Yep.
And that's going to get them the 10 that they need to get over the finish line. And they've got just enough members in the House right now in the lame duck session to get this thing done. So this thing, unless his amendment's probably not going to fly either, but he calls attention to it. It's a red light blinking. And at some point, somebody's got to see it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I mean, it's so shady, just the way that we pass bills now, especially spending bills.
Been doing it for a long time like this. In the middle of the night.
I know, and it's like, he says they had all this time to put it together, and they didn't put it together. They waited until the last minute. They kept extending it. And I can't help but think, you mentioned you're not a black helicopter conspiracy guy, but I can't help but think, like, that has to be on purpose. How could they not have something together before this? The reason that they don't have something together before this, in my opinion, is because they don't want people to read it. They want to have it at the last minute. They want to push it through. They want to push a vote. They don't want anybody to know what's in it. It's 4,000 pages long.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to read it.
Right.
And that's how they want it to be done. It's on purpose. It's not an accident. And then the other thing that I thought that kind of made me smile is he was talking about Republicans pushing for it because it has $45 billion in military spending in it. How much money have we sent to Ukraine in the last 3 months alone?
More than that.
100 billion?
Yep,
80 billion? 100 billion? More? I mean, we're funding this other foreign government that is totally corrupt and that we should have no business with, to the tune of 2 to 3 times as much as we're supposed to allot for our own military. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that Nancy Pelosi famously said about Obamacare, we got to read it or we got to pass it to see what's in it.
Right.
I mean, and she keeps getting reelected, and people keep voting for Democrats. It boggles the mind because this has been going on for a very long time. I see that I skipped the January 6th thing, and I did not mean to do that. So let's go backward in time here. The House Select Committee on the January 6th attack on the Capitol releasing its final report today. You talk about expense. The committee has interviewed more than 1,000 people, collected hundreds of thousands of documents over the past 18 months. The report will include transcripts of interviews, documents including emails, texts, phone records, and more. How many trees, Kurt, did they kill? The environmentalists on Capitol Hill. How many trees did they kill to refer this thing over to justice? And then there's this, the fact that this committee, it's a sham. It's a complete sham. Think about this. There are 9 members of this committee, right? I think there's 9.
Yep.
7 are Democrats, and 2 are Trump-hating Republicans. The way the committees are generally set up...
Is it Cheney and Kinzinger?
Kinzinger, yeah. So the way committees like this are generally set up is, the majority gets like a 1-vote majority on the committee. So if it were 9, it should be 5 Democrats, 4 Republicans. And the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, should have appointed members to this thing. And Nancy Pelosi didn't allow that. She took the 2 Trump-hating Republicans out of the House. One of them, didn't they both lose, or Kitzinger win again?
I don't believe so, but I'm not sure.
Well, we know that Liz Cheney's out.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I saw you talk about rumors. I heard one that Liz Cheney might end up as Speaker of the House, that enough Democrats would vote for Liz Cheney if they could peel off 5 or whatever it is Republicans to go with them, that she would become Speaker of the House.
Good God.
Is that an abomination or what? So I don't think that's realistically going to happen. No. But this thing is a complete sham.
Yeah.
And if Merrick Garland takes the bait on this and goes forward with charges, I mean, you think it's a circus now? You wait.
Oh yeah, I mean, Merrick Garland is the biggest circus in the federal government right now. I mean, this is the guy that's running DOJ, the unpolitical, non-biased head of the DOJ that's completely ignored the riots that we've had, completely ignored all of the actual threats that we have domestically, and has called angry white supremacists the biggest domestic threat. Has called parents. The Department of Justice has called parents that are concerned about their kids being sucked into gender ideology and given hormones in school the biggest threat to our country. So he's obviously political, and he's obviously going to take this as far as he can in terms of not letting Trump be eligible to run or just stopping his campaign as soon as they possibly can. That's what this is all about. If Trump said he wasn't going to run in 2024, this whole thing would end immediately.
And, there's part of me that doesn't think he's going to be the nominee and he's not going to be the next president. A guy like Florida, help me out here. DeSantis, thank you. Why? I don't know. I had a brain break. It's close to Christmas. I haven't had enough sugar. DeSantis is probably, somebody like him, I think, is likely to be the nominee and the future of the Republican Party. So then what happens to all this? It just goes away, and they've killed all these trees for all these reports. They've done all this show stuff for absolutely no reason. And Merrick Garland, Justice, oversees the FBI, too. And I think when Republicans come in, one of the things they're going to look at is the FBI. I mean, Donald Trump's FBI. I mean, he was the president at the time. And the FBI goes to all these media places like Twitter and Facebook and all that and says, they've already got the laptop at this point, the Hunter Biden laptop, and they're like, this thing might be coming and it might look like this. And if it does, it's Russian disinformation. I mean, heads have got to roll over that, don't you think?
Yeah, and it's not just the Twitter and social media stuff. It's the FBI investigating private citizens who are conservative. They're investigating pro-life organizations. They started an investigation against Donald Trump, his campaign based on fake foreign intelligence from the Obama administration and the Hillary Clinton campaign, the P-tape and all that stuff. That was the FBI. And so the FBI is totally compromised, totally corrupt. And you mentioned that it was the Trump's, he was the president, but I mean, it's just a sign of the deep state. I don't think he was really in control of the FBI. I mean, he was able to maybe
clearly he wasn't.
Yeah, he was able to maybe appoint some top level people, right. But all of this stuff happening under the radar is a sign that these people are permanent. They're unelected bureaucrats. They're permanent in the Washington establishment, permanent in the deep state, and they're unaccountable. And somebody has to hold them to account, and we need to really. I would go as far as to say we need to just completely get rid of it, but that's just me. Maybe there's something in between.
Well, you're not alone. There are people who think we need to gut the FBI and start over.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens when Republicans take charge and hold some people's feet to the fire. Now, you mentioned the circus earlier. We need to go to the actual circus. Former President Trump teased a big announcement. I got this big announcement coming, big announcement. And there were those of us who thought, well, I mean, he's already announced he's going to run for president. Maybe he's going to name his running mate and all that.
Mm-hmm. Or he's going to announce he's coming back on Twitter. Or he's going to announce some policy.
Yeah, which none of those were true. Do we have the actual announcement?
Oh, I got it right here.
Oh, let's roll it.
It's ready to go. This is so great.
Hello, everyone. This is Donald Trump. Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington.
Pause right there. Just pause that. Pause right. Is he being serious or is he punking us? Does he really think he was better than Lincoln and Washington?
I mean, I think it's kind of both. It's kind of both in a way that only Trump can do. I mean, he's being serious in the sense that he has a lot of confidence, obviously, but he's also, I think, kind of trolling us. I mean, this was the big announcement, I mean, it's all right. It's
I agreed with his policies, but I don't think he's anywhere near Lincoln or Washington. Go ahead.
To make, I'm doing my first official Donald J. Trump NFT collection right here and right now. They're called Trump Digital Trading Cards. These cards feature some of the really incredible artwork pertaining to my life and my career. It's been very exciting. You can collect your Trump digital cards. just like a baseball card or other collectibles. Here's one of the best parts. Each card comes with an automatic chance to win amazing prizes like dinner with me. I don't know if that's an amazing prize, but it's what we have. Or golf with you and a group of your friends at one of my beautiful golf courses, and they are beautiful. I'm also doing Zoom calls, a one-on-one meeting, autographing memorabilia, and so much more. We're doing a lot. My official Trump digital trading cards are $99, which doesn't sound like very much for what you're getting. Buy one and you will join a very exclusive community. It's my community, and I think it's something you're going to like, and you're going to like it a lot. They also make perfect gifts. So you can buy them with your credit card or crypto. All you need is an email address. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and buy your Trump digital trading cards right now before they are all gone, and they will be gone. This is my first official Trump trading card NFT collection, and you get a chance to meet me. Go to collecttrumpcards.com right now, and remember...
All right, enough of the commercial here.
Oh, it's almost over.
They sold out, right?
Oh, they sold out in like hours. Like an hour, yeah.
I don't know. I want this country to be held at a higher standard. I just really do. I know you like this stuff. You think this is funny. And it is hilarious. Funny. It is funny. I'll give you that.
It's so funny. I mean,
I don't know that it's presidential.
Well, yeah, but what does that even mean anymore? I mean, that word has totally lost all its value. And you know, the thing is, like, and we'll talk about, he's made other announcements. You know, he made another announcement the same day that was actually really good. But this is why people like Trump. I mean, he's funny. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He has confidence, you know, and then like just all these like shitty photoshops on the digital trading cards.
Didn't you find out that those are like stock pictures
yeah,
he put his face on?
I don't have the article because I literally just saw something right before we started recording, and I don't know if this is totally true or not, but somebody was claiming that he had just stolen the images from like some stock photo website and hadn't paid for them, and then just slapped his face on it. But yeah, it's just hilarious, and it has all the best Trumpisms. You know, like you could come to one of my beautiful golf courses, and they are beautiful, yeah, and like all that stuff. It's great.
Favorite president, better than Lincoln,
better than Washington.
So he made another announcement that was at least a little more presidential, right?
Yeah. So later that day, and it's funny because, you know, you have to think that this is all on purpose. So he teased the big announcement. The big announcement was the NFT thing. And then like under the radar, later that same day, he made this other announcement about a plan to curtail internet censorship. And we'll play a little bit of that announcement, and then I'll show you a little picture.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything.
This is like 6 minutes long.
Yeah. We don't need the whole thing.
We don't have to watch the whole thing.
At least that's more presidential, right? In front of the flags and talking about the First Amendment, which was very dear to all of us.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot better than the clown show that you played first.
So then he had a list that he put out, and I'll read it for those that are just listening to the audio. I think this was on Truth Social or wherever, but restoring free speech overview. Ban federal agencies from colluding to censor American citizens. Ban taxpayer dollars from being used to label speech as mis or disinformation. Fire every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship. That would be a lot of them.
Yeah.
Immediately send preservation letters to Biden administration and big tech giants. I don't really know what that means.
Preserve documents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Order,
Don't shred them.
Right. Order the DOJ to investigate all parties involved in online censorship regime and prosecute any and all crimes identified. Revise Section 230 to drastically curtail big platforms' power to restrict lawful speech.
Very important.
That's a big one. Stop federal funding for all nonprofits and academic programs engaged in censorship. Suspend federal dollars to any university that is engaged in censorship support activities. Enact criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to violate your constitutional rights. Impose a 7-year cooling off period before former Intel and national security officials can work at big tech platforms. Pass a digital Bill of Rights.
I would add to that, cut off all federal funding for PBS.
Yeah, and NPR.
And NPR.
Yeah.
You know, it's like be on your own. There's plenty of opinions out there and plenty of ways to get your opinion out there. We don't need to be subsidizing NPR or PBS anymore.
But that's great. I mean, obviously, that's fantastic. I think that's pretty much spot on. And so that happened the same day as the digital trading cards. It's just interesting. It's interesting tactic. And I think it was on purpose. I think he's trolling us. You know, he wants everyone to focus on the shiny object over here, you know, the shitty Photoshop.
Which they love to do, which is why they have hearings and print all those documents and kill all those trees.
Right.
I just saw, before we get to the Elon update here, I just saw this, and I have to share this. You know, we've talked about how there are people who get up every morning and go, what can I be pissed off about today? Okay, well, somebody thought that the crossword puzzle in the New York Times on the first night of Hanukkah was in the shape of a swastika. Have you seen this?
No, keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
The Times fires back and says, no, this is a common crossword design with a common spiral pattern. But somebody woke up, looked at the paper, and said, yeah, I'm really needing something to be pissed off about today. And it's the first night of Hanukkah, so I'm going to look at the New York Times, and woe and behold, the crossword puzzle appears to look like a swat. You just went by it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, seriously? Come on, man.
I mean, it does kind of look like a swastika.
I guess if you held it that way or whatever.
It's like, it's a swastika. I mean, that's what it is. It's very clearly. But, I mean, I don't even know what to think of that. It's like, they had to have noticed that, right? Before
let's
they
face
published
it. They went on strike and nobody noticed, right? So there's like 16 readers of the paper.
Maybe that was one of the disgruntled employees that was on strike, and they were like, you know what? I'm going to stick it to the New York Times. I'm putting a swastika in the crossword puzzle.
All right. Moving on to the Elon update. 2 updates here. One, the Thursday Night Massacre, as they're calling it, and then the poll about whether he should stay as CEO of Twitter. Let's start with the Thursday Night Massacre.
Yeah, so he suspended the accounts of a bunch of journalists, quote unquote, using that word loosely, because they were retweeting and reposting this other account called Elon Jet, which was basically tracking Elon's private plane in real time. So he viewed that as doxing of his private location. He had just had, earlier in the week, somebody who was looking for him, but actually found his son tracking his car and was like in Antifa gear, wearing a mask and stuff like that. So obviously he's going to take that seriously. But the media was just freaking out that he suspended the accounts of all of these journalists. So they dubbed it the Thursday Night Massacre, and they wrote a whole Wikipedia article about it. The Thursday Night Massacre is a term that refers to the December 15th, 2022 account suspension of several high-profile journalists from the Twitter platform. So,
did any of these people raise a flag when the New York Post was suspended when they were reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop?
I seriously doubt it. And, you know, it's very ironic because back when all that was happening and conservatives were, you know, up in arms about censorship on Twitter, all of the liberal journalists on Twitter were saying, oh, it's a private company. Go build your own Twitter. Go make your own platform. And, of course, none of them are saying that now. They're saying, oh, this is, you know, censorship of free speech and blah, blah, blah. So the tables have just turned 100%, and it's very funny.
Well, Elon Musk might not be the CEO much longer. I mean, he put out the poll and said, what do you think? First of all, that's dangerous. He's a smarter guy than I am, so I'm sure that he's 15 jumps ahead. But you know, anytime you ask anything online, like if I did something on Facebook, you know, all the trolls would come out, all the keyboard warriors, the Kreisbergs of the world, you know,
and bots, too. I mean,
and bots, too.
He's gotten rid of a lot of bots bot accounts, but there's still a lot of bot accounts on Twitter.
So he asked, basically, should I stay as CEO? And if it goes against me, I'll step down, and it went against him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a mistake. He has been trying to go for this, democratic approach on Twitter, which is just, democracy is cringe and stupid to begin with. We don't live in a democracy, but, even that aside, I just think it's a mistake because you should stick to your guns. I mean, if you have a plan for the platform, stick with that plan and enact that plan. It's your company. You know what I mean? So why would you just leave it up to a vote on Twitter? I don't get that.
Well, to Kurt's point, before everybody gets their hair on fire, well, you don't believe in democracy? What do you want to be, a communist? We don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. If you want to know the origins of democracy, you have to go back to ancient Greece. And what they did in ancient Greece was when they needed to talk about anything, they gathered everybody, the men of a certain age who owned property.
Right.
That's what democracy was. And they all gathered in the amphitheater and they went yay or nay. That's democracy. What we have is a democratic republic where we vote for the people who make the laws. So that's the difference.
Yeah, and the point of that being that your rights are not up for a vote. Good and evil is not up for a vote. What you should be allowed to do is not up for a vote,
No.
It should never be. And this is a private company. It's not even a government, obviously. It's a private company.
He did pay $44 billion for it.
Yeah, so then
Should he have? I don't know, but...
He said yesterday in reply to that poll, he said, I will resign as CEO as soon as I find someone foolish enough to take the job. After that, I will just run the software and servers teams. And then
you going to apply for the job?
Should I? Probably be a big pay raise.
It would be.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's that. And then he had this other thing. I don't have to play it, but he went on Twitter Spaces, and people were complaining about him suspending journalists. And he basically went on there and said they were doxing my location in real time with this account that was tracking my plane. They're not special. Journalists are not special. They should follow the same rules as everybody else. And if you are doxing people, you're going to get suspended. And so that's that.
All right. Last element of the news here. I just saw this. The things that happen in the news now just make me laugh. First of all, the New York Times with their swastika crossword puzzle. I hadn't even seen it till you just pulled it up, and it does kind of look like a swastika.
It looks like a swastika.
Okay, so they've got their most fashionable of 2022 list out, and they named John Fetterman one of the most fashionable in 2022.
Yeah, we've got a Tucker clip.
Oh, it's hysterical. Play that.
So you assume John Fetterman was wearing his found in a dumpster oversized hoodie to hide the massive bulge on the side of his neck, but no, it was a Balenciaga-level fashion statement. The New York Times has just named John Fetterman to the list of the 93 most stylish people of the year. Quote, the senator-elect from Pennsylvania is going to bring Carhartt to the Capitol. Now, why are they telling you this? Because they want to subvert aesthetics. Because they hate beauty. Because they hate truth. It's actually deep. That's exactly what they're doing. The ugly is beautiful. Sean Hannity, who is beautiful, joins us now.
If I vote, I think you're way better dressed than John Fetterman, the trust fund brat in a hoodie. I mean, I don't even think it's close. My vote's
and that's not saying much, considering I wear the same clothes.
By the way, I just had a thought on the whole John Fetterman thing. At my fattest before Slim for Life, okay, my neck size was 18 and a half. Okay, and that was at my fattest. I mean, that was over 300 pounds. What do you think his neck size is?
Including the bulge?
Including the bulge. I mean, is it like 25?
I don't think there's even a measurement that would I mean,
suffice. I've seen him in a suit. He put on a suit a couple of times, right? And so he had like a dress shirt on with a tie.
He has a triple D neck.
Crazy. And when you're really fat like I was, right? You have to get extra long ties. They call them extra long ties, but it means you're really fat because you need more of the tie to go around your neck.
Go around your neck.
Yeah. So I
think he probably has a second tie for the bulge. It like kind of comes off the side.
Before we talk about climate change, and I have some real opinions about climate change, which I've expressed on this podcast before. There's virtue signaling and there's reality. And the reality is it's going to get real damn cold here in the Midwest. And what are you going to do about it? You've got the power company. You plug into the grid. I mean, is there a way for you to make your house self-sustaining? And yes, there is. There is, with my friends at Royal Roofing and Solar. Austin Watterson and his complete company let them come to your home if you're even thinking about this. First of all, if you need a roof, they're the best roofers in town. They're not the fly-by-night people who are going to come in and do the roof and then bolt town and you're never going to hear from them again. Trust me, I had a roof done by a company like that and we never found them again. These folks, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They're people who live in our community. They're big Pleasant Hill people. Their son just played football for the Roosters down there, had an outstanding year. I mean, Austin Watterson and Buffy and their entire family, they are Missouri folks. They'll also work in Kansas, so that little dividing line doesn't stop them. Royal Roofing and Solar, 816-540-7057. And if Austin can show you a way that you can use solar to your benefit and own your own utilities rather than lease them from Evergy or the gas company, that's going to put you so far ahead. And there are even tax credits you can use out there. Take advantage of what's out there. When you see this $1.7 trillion omnibus bill, I mean, certainly there might be something in there for you, and Austin can show you how to pull out that piece so that you can get something that's benefiting you. Okay, so check it out, 816-540-7057, Royal Roofing and Solar. So today is the first day of winter after an unseasonably cool fall. Wouldn't you say it was kind of a cold fall?
Yeah, seemed like it.
You know, because I was running around town last week when it was really, really cold, and I was telling people, this is still fall. And they were all looking at me like, what? You're kidding, right? Yeah, winter doesn't start till December 21st. So today is the first day of winter, and we're going into it here in the Midwest with this huge bomb cyclone, they're calling it, that's going to affect a lot of the country. So, when you bring that up, and it just pisses me off, Kurt, that the left is controlling the language in this country. Because when you bring up things like this, that it was an unseasonably cool fall, and it's really going to be cold going into winter and all that, that's just the weather. That's not climate. That's the weather. But by God, you have a really hot day in the middle of summer, and they're saying, climate change. See, that's climate change. Right there. That's climate change.
Well, they'll say it about the cold now, too. I mean, that's why the term is climate change, not global warming. It's because,
it's winter. It's supposed to be cold.
Yeah. I mean, again, they control the language. The left controls the language. And that's why there has been different terms throughout this whole thing. There's been global warming, global cooling, climate change, everything else. But climate change is all encompassing because anytime the climate changes, anytime it's unseasonably cold or unseasonably warm, or anytime you have a hurricane, or anytime you have turbulence in an airplane, which we'll talk about later, you can blame climate change because the term is all encompassing. So.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to point out, and I pointed out a lot because we need to keep saying things over and over again that are true to offset what we're being fed, which is a line of horse shit coming out of the left. We have 200 years of weather data. This is a 5 billion year old planet, which is probably going to be around for another 5 billion years. 200 years versus 5 billion. The planet is constantly evolving. The arrogance that we can somehow change something that we're doing and hold us in a Goldilocks pattern to where everybody's weather will be just like San Diego. Every day will be sunny and 78, and it'll be nice and about 55, 56 overnight, maybe 60, and that will be our weather.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be great, but it's ridiculous that they think that you can do this, and you can't. And you've got like a list of all the predictions they've made, and none of them have come true.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back to Al Gore or to the 70s and 80s, but there's a whole list here if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, which you should be. And actually, let me just make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. There we go. So some of the predictions: 1966, oil gone in 10 years. 1968, overpopulation will spread worldwide. 1970, urban citizens will require gas masks by 1985. Killer bees, ice age by 2000. Oil depleted in 20 years. Another ice age. Peak oil in 2000. Rising sea levels. Peak oil in 2010. Peak oil has repeated many times because they keep saying we're going to run out of oil. They keep saying that certain countries are going to be underwater. If you watch that old documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, by one of the biggest grifters of all time, Al Gore, inventor of the internet, you can see that he predicted. I mean, when did that movie come out? It was like 2005.
Yeah, they just keep moving the goalpost, right? They just keep moving the goalpost out further. The end of the world is coming because of us, but we're just going to move the goalpost out a little bit further.
Yeah, An Inconvenient Truth was 2006.
And that won an Oscar, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think it did.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there was a bunch of predictions in there about rising sea levels, putting countries underwater. And, it's really hasn't turned out to be true.
If you just ask some pointed questions, this shit falls apart really fast. It does. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is it just me?
No, it does.
Ask some questions out there. Stop just going along with all of this. Because, when these people weren't in control and they said all this outlandish shit, okay, it was like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. But now they're in charge.
Yeah.
And they're making decisions that are going to affect our lives and really put us at risk. They've got the automakers in the United States on board. They're buying into Biden's thing of we're going to be all electric by whatever date.
Yeah.
What are the questions that we ought to ask about that? Okay, where are we going to charge our cars?
Where do the batteries come from?
Yeah.
How efficient are the batteries? Where does the energy that I use to charge my battery come from? What is the range of this vehicle? How efficient is it to actually charge the vehicle compared to gasoline? Where are the charging stations?
Yeah.
The questions are endless.
As we go into extreme weather, Kurt, I mean, will that cut down the distance this thing will go on electricity?
Right.
If we get into hot weather and we got to run the AC, everything comes off the battery.
Right.
Will that cut down on the range of this thing?
That's a good question.
There are so many great questions that we ought to be asking, and nobody's asking them.
Right.
We're asking them. The rest of the country's like, okay, I guess Joe says we're going to do this by then. And the president of Toyota has now come out and said that U.S. EV goals are unrealistic. And this is, I told you I bought a Japanese car. I bought a Mitsubishi Mazda. I keep wanting to call it a Mitsubishi. It's a Mazda. For the first time ever, I bought a Japanese vehicle because the American automakers have bought this hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
And I think they're going to be in serious trouble.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the American manufacturers are like hardly coming out with new gasoline cars anymore. I mean, there's probably some, but
they're running all these commercials about the new EVs that are coming out. How cool is this? You get to do this. You get to do that. Right. And then I'm sitting there going, where do I charge it?
Right.
And when I do charge it, isn't it running off coal?
Right.
For the most part?
Yeah, I mean, you're being pragmatic in your questions, which most people aren't willing to do.
Think about this. That's all I'm asking our audience to do. Think about this. Think about the questions, the logistical questions that you have about EVs. Mm-hmm. Start asking them, because I guarantee you, Karine Jean-Pierre there in the briefing room at the White House, that big fluffy hair thing on top of her, it's going to explode if you ask really pointed questions like this.
Well, she'll just say, we have nothing to say on that.
I mean, CBS, to your point earlier, we had a turbulent flight. First of all, if you're going to fly, I always keep my seatbelt on and fastened. And I know a lot of people don't. They take them off whenever you get the ping, when it's all clear and all that. But you can hit unexpected turbulence. And people were flying all over that cabin, hitting the roof. A lot of them got hurt. And CBS blames it on climate change.
There you go.
Based on what?
Severe weather increases chance of turbulence, and due to climate change, these kinds of incidents will only continue to grow. Spokesperson for the Association of Flight Attendants.
I mean, I almost wrecked my new car the other day. Bob Watson, I hope you're not listening to this. I almost did, because it was like 2 a.m. and I'm going into work, and there's a dead possum in the middle of the road, and I guess his cousin wanted to walk over and see what was going on, right? And so... And the possums are stupid, right? And I didn't want to hit the possum, didn't want to get possum guts all over my new vehicle, so I'm like swerving and all that. I brought it back to the middle and all that, but I can blame that on global warming. How did that possum get killed? Why did it get killed? It got killed by this car, which is here because of global warming and climate change. I mean, come on. Can we just, and then you got the AOC documentary. She had a climate change documentary. I had a section in here of what they've sold us, which I've explained, I think, in detail. Are we buying? Do you really plan to buy an electric vehicle? Are you thinking about it right now? I mean, because if you are and you want to have one because you think it's cool and you want to tool around town, that's fine. Is it going to take you cross country? Is it going to take you to Florida, to California, to the mountains or whatever? I think that's where the real questions come in.
Should we torture ourselves and watch the trailer for the AOC documentary?
I just saw a line that said that her climate change documentary bombed, which did not surprise me in the least because, again, America doesn't want to be lectured like this. We just want to live our lives in peace and freedom and all that. And, yeah, this thing's absolutely bombing. I want to see the trailer.
Okay, yeah, I kind of want to see it.
Lionsgate.
Fighting for change politically requires faith.
We are building an army of young people to stop the climate crisis and create millions of good jobs for our generation.
New jobs.
Everyone wants to talk about this dispassionately, but this is the world that I will raise my kids in.
The more centrist wing is arguing that they want to maintain the status quo.
Ain't nobody gonna keep us down.
This is going to be the moonshot.
They got the struggle music in the background.
Moments of crisis crack open the window of possibility.
We just climb that mountain.
Sometimes I feel like my job is to get my hands dirty. You're not going to trick us. Hell no.
Now is the time to leverage our power. We have.
Do we have to watch the entire trailer, Kurt? My God, how long does it go on?
It's 2.5 minutes long.
Make them feel like they're going to lose their seats if they don't.
This is like Chinese water torture.
As long as there are people that you can poison without consequence, there will always be a loophole that the fossil fuel industry can exploit.
It's possible to both decarbonize.
Okay, what is your plan? What is your plan moving forward? You've identified what you think is the big problem in the world, and that's fossil fuels. Yet you're going to come with EVs. You plug them in. It's run on a fossil fuel grid. And
they don't have a plan. They just want to complain about shit. And of course, if you watch the trailer, you can see who's in it and who's not in it. You know that there's going to be some woke diversity, racial justice angle to it. And they're going to crowbar in everything else, fossil fuels disproportionately impact the trans community and blah, blah, blah.
My prediction is
it's so predictable.
It's going to win an Oscar. It's going to win an Oscar.
I hope it does. That would be great.
Do we have the acceptance for AOC when it does win an Oscar?
We have actually the acceptance speech before it even happens.
Yeah, she's practicing.
She's practiced the acceptance speech.
There goes Will Smith, and there's a smack.
He's not having any of it. Will Smith is not having any of it.
Are you a capitalist or a socialist?
Are you a capitalist?
Weird.
Yeah. My question is, did she fly on a private plane to get to the Oscar ceremony? Because,
I don't know.
Walk the walk. If you're going to talk the talk.
Did she fly on a plane to get to all of the places where she filmed the movie? How about that?
All right. So shall we move on to personal responsibility?
Yeah.
Oh, what'd I do? I just threw away this.
This is a great segue.
It is a great segue.
A plus segue.
All right. So I bought the Mazda, and the original temp tag expired on December 22nd, which is actually tomorrow. Last week, when I took a couple of days off, I actually went to the motor vehicle, right? And I had all the documentation. I even went online, Kurt, because I'm always terrified I'm going to get there and I'm not going to have everything that I need. So I went online and it's like, okay, what all do I need here? And I got an A+ from the people at the DMV because I had everything I needed. It's titled, it's plated, with a week to go on the temp tag. My vehicle is completely legal. Temp tags are chronically late. And it's become my pet peeve. And other people have said the same thing to me. We're driving around town, and what do you see? First thing I'll see is the paper kind of flying off the back of it.
It's like flipped up the other way where you can't read it.
And then I want to get up there and I want to look at it. And most of them are expired, some by years. Mm-hmm. How is this happening? Why are we allowing this to happen?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I always want to see the driver, when people have.
Well, I always look. Yeah. I'm going right up next to him and I give him the stink eye. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's kind of like the look that I'm giving them. Because, I put this up on Facebook And because I'm trying to make a statement here that this can be done. Adulting can be done. You know, I raised 4 of my own. One of them I've had difficulty in this area with, and I talk to him a lot, and I'm trying to get him where he needs to be. But you can adult. You can do these things. Times are hard right now. Times have been hard at other times in this country. So to me, what I said is, because one of my friends jumped all over me and said, "Oh, aren't you the one patting yourself on the back, taking a victory lap? I mean, why do you even care what anybody else is doing?" Here's why I care. Because I'm guessing if you can't do what you need to do to title that car properly, you probably can't afford to have insurance on it. And then if you hit me, it becomes my problem.
Yeah.
It is my problem. It's not just my problem. It's Bob Watson's problem, you know, because Bob's been my insurance agent for almost 30 years. He has insured all of my cars because I take that responsibility. I'm going to take a vehicle out. I'm going to drive it. Missouri law requires that you have insurance. People flaunt that rule all the time anyway, right? So, but I'm going to be the guy who does have insurance. I'm going to be the one with up-to-date tags because it's important that you do this kind of stuff because it's the slippery slope. We talk about the broken windows thing all the time, right? And that's exactly what this is. This is, you let that go. Okay, what else are you going to let go? We're going to let that go. We're going to let that go. And it drives me insane.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of the times and it's a sign of our society, you know, and like you said, it's a reflection on people's character. Like if you're not able to take care of something and, you know, people have a hard time or whatever, you know, they have other things going on, they can't afford it, but you need to make the time. You need to make the ability to afford it. You need to budget for it because it's a sign of the times. You know, if you can't get that fixed, if you can't get that squared away, then what else are you shirking? You know, what else are you not doing?
Well,
and,
why do we even have the rule? I mean, let's just get rid of it.
Right.
Why do we have license plates at all?
Right.
Why do we have to have insurance on our cars? Let's just start running into each other and have at it. I mean, at some point you have a society and that society has rules. And you said something there that just really pisses me off because that's the excuse that a lot of people use. Well, times are tough right now. You should kind of look the other way. And, you know, I'm going to sound like the boomer here and the young people are going to go, "Oh, boomer, oh, boomer."
You already do.
Okay.
It's okay.
My grandparents lived through the Great Depression. Okay. And they still created adults who were able to go out and live on their own. I just saw this study this morning, Kurt. Nearly 1 in 5, well, first of all, let's start with this one. 50% of 18 to 29-year-olds, half of 18 to 29-year-olds in this country are still living at home. Okay? Nearly 1 in 5 young adults have debt currently in collections because they have not been taught how to adult. Either that or it just went in one ear and out the other ear. Okay, so for the young people who are going to roll their eyes and call me a boomer and all that, I'm going to tell you my story. My story is when I was 17, I was working in radio. I barely made enough money to scratch out an existence. And I was an independent guy. I've always been an independent guy. And I'm like, I really don't want to live at home anymore because I got into an argument with my stepfather. Can I tell you a quick story about my stepfather? Okay, so I'm 17 and I got a date, right? And I lived in the basement of our house. And I had decorated the entire thing for Christmas. Kind of was my thing back then, okay? So it's February of the year after. And my stepfather, who was a police officer, he says, "You're not leaving this house until you clean up all that stuff in the basement." And I'm pissed, right? Because I'm an adult. I've got a full-time job now. I got a date that's waiting for me, and I'm ready to go. So I went downstairs. I had the box for the Christmas tree. I took the Christmas tree, ornaments, lights, and everything, and I just slammed it into the box, and I threw it back in the laundry room, right? Made a big show of it. I should tell you also that my stepfather had the habit of walking around the house in nothing but his underwear. Okay, it's February. It's cold. And I figure if I can get to the front door, he'll stop at the front door because he's not going to go outside in his underwear. It's cold, blah, 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 blah. So I made it to the door. And I got out and I went on my date. And it was on that night that I decided that at 17, making $13,000 a year, that I was done and I was going to get an apartment. And I got this dump-ass apartment and I lived there and I supported myself and I have never gone back. And I've taken care of things like paying for the plates on my car, paying for insurance and all that, raising 4 children, you know? This can be done through good times and bad times. And there have been some of both.
Yeah. And I've got something, I put this in the notes, but that's even simpler than that, because I think the point that I'm trying to make from this is like, it's a sign of society. If you can't do these simple things, then what kind of person are you? How are you contributing? How are you a positive member of society if you can't do these simple things? And something that's even simpler that really grinds my gears, if you will, now my turn for a boomer take, is returning your shopping cart. Okay? You have to return your shopping cart. When you're shopping, you're in the parking lot, take your freaking shopping cart back. You leave it in the lot, it rolls, it hits someone's car, it gets in the way, it blocks a parking space. It's literally the simplest thing, and I think it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. It's the simplest thing that you can possibly do to be a productive member of society and to follow the rules, and people just don't do it. And there's this great YouTube account, I think he's on TikTok and other places too, called Cart Narcs. And this guy goes around to places all over the country and accosts people who don't return their shopping carts. So I figured I'd play this clip real quick. This is a very small taste. If you like this, go to Cart Narcs on YouTube. Check it out.
I don't think that's when he... Oh, no!
He puts it right in the island.
The cart corral's right over that way. Over there. Sir, you're going to force make me do the pit maneuver here.
Don't start putting shit in front of my car, man.
No, the cart corral's right over that way.
I don't care, man. Then you take it if you're so concerned.
I'm not the cart employee. I'm the cart narc. What I do, I don't put it. It's not yours. Excuse me. Let me rephrase myself. This is your cart, not mine, sir.
Oh boy, he does that all over the country.
All over the country.
Right
He's done a few in the Kansas City area. I've seen a Hy-Vee in Kansas in Overland Park. I've seen the Walmart on 40 Highway, close to Independence, off of 70. And people get really mad at him. Like he's been threatened. He's been chased. He's had people try and hit him with their cars. All kinds of stuff.
That Walmart on 40 Highway is lucky he didn't get shot.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's actually a really good one. He meets some juggalos there, and it's a whole thing.
I will admit to you that I have done this before.
Terrible.
I know. I'm a horrible human being.
You should unironically be ashamed. That's terrible.
It's like if it's really cold, nasty out, especially at the Walmart, they've got those nice little islands. It's not running anywhere, because what that guy did in the video you just showed, I mean, he popped a wheelie and he put the front wheels into the island on the grass.
Yeah, but that's not where the cart goes,
So
Dale.
It's not going to run in
It doesn't matter.
car.
That's not where the cart goes, Dale. Okay. Somebody has to go pick up that cart and return it.
All right, boomer.
Return your damn shopping cart.
So if you haven't gotten insurance, let Bob Watson show you that it is affordable, okay? 816-229-7878. Bob Watson's been my State Farm agent for nearly 30 years. I've been with State Farm since I was 16. I mean, the things that I learned, I don't know where I would have been had my stepfather, the guy in the underwear who tried to, keep me from going on my date, if he hadn't come into my life, I don't know where, I would have ended up, because he turned me on to State Farm. Back when I was 16, that's the only insurance company that I've ever used. He turned me on to going to the dentist every 6 months. This podcast episode is delayed for a day because of my 6-month checkup at the dentist, which I do twice a year, every year. It's something that grown-ups do. I mean, Bob Watson's a guy who can show you the way, and an entire team dedicated to making sure that you do have insurance. You do have that umbrella over you. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878, a local company helping folks in Kansas and Missouri from his office in Blue Springs, with an entire team dedicated to making sure you have insurance, and State Farm with surprisingly great rates. The rates are not an excuse. If you're going to be driving a car out there, you need to have insurance. It's the state law, for crying out loud. And it's part of being a grown-up, part of being an adult. And if you're an adult out there and you're letting your, 18 to what? What did I say, 18 to 20?
29.
Yeah. If you're letting half of the 18 to 29-year-olds in this country are still living at home, probably rent-free, eating Cheetos, playing video games. Okay,
Cheetos.
There's two things you need to do. You need to kick their ass out. My rule at my house, I know, I'm a boomer. My rule at my house was, you're either going to college or getting a job. Either way, you're out of my house, because I've done my 18 years. It's time for you to get on your own 2 feet and get out there into the real world. And if you're not doing that, you are enabling these kids, and you're not helping them long term, because you, quite frankly, my adult friends, my fellow boomers, you need to be thinking about your own retirement. Do you really think that 18 to 29-year-old kid sitting on the couch eating Cheetos playing video games is thinking about your retirement? Who's going to take care of you?
Right.
And that's what I told my kids. It's like, this is my time. I got like 10 years before I'm going to retire. This is my time to stack up Benjamins.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's what you should be doing as well. So kick those kids out. In fact, send them down to Dingman at Funhouse Pizza.
Yeah.
Put that slide up again because he's always looking for employees.
Yes.
He basically can't stay open the entire time he wants to stay open because he can't find people to work.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That's where we are in this society. So you got that kid, you send him over to Funhouse Pizza either on 50 Highway in Lee Summit or 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Ask for Jim Dingman. Say, we're the ones who sent them. We want this deadbeat kid to actually make some money and learn responsibility. Jim Dingman, a former Marine, will take them under his wing and shape them up in ways you never even dreamed of. How about that? Is that a good plug?
Yeah.
All right.
You're in full boomer mode today,
I'm in
man.
full
It's great.
boomer mode. It's like, yeah. I'm terrified about the future of this country. Where are we going?
Yeah.
$31 trillion in debt. You think that bill's not going to come due?
It's going to come due.
Yeah. And,
to China.
Yeah. I guess. Maybe they'll be the new landlords. Maybe they'll let us keep some of our freedoms. Not all of them, for sure. Okay, before we leave you, what happens when you're more concerned about filling boxes on a diversity bingo card than the ability to do the job? Meet Sam Brenton. This is Sam Brenton. This person goes by Brenton and uses the pronouns they and them, which of course checked a box for Joey B's people down in the basement of the White House. Brenton was responsible for this country's nuclear waste, second in charge at the DOE. Second in charge until them were caught stealing women's suitcases in airports because Brenton likes to dress like women. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not sure it qualifies him to be second in command there at the DOE.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to find a regular picture of him because all I have is memes of him with the luggage. This is a really good one. Again, if you're not watching on YouTube, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
You gotta see these memes. So
I mean, that one is that's like Thanos, right?
Yeah.
From the Avengers.
It's Tranos, excuse you.
Tranos, I'm sorry. But it looks like a ball sack hanging from the lips there, right?
Well, that's the Thanos chin. Haven't you seen the movie, Dale?
I have seen the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying on that dude, on them, it looks like a ball sack.
Well, no comment on that.
Okay, we'll just move on.
Move on to the next one.
There you got them on suitcases, probably stolen from the airport there.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the suitcase and the tag pronouns mine.
Well, that's not the pronoun. It's they, them.
Well, it's mine because it's his suitcase now.
Okay. And then it.
Yes.
That's probably the best one. All right. So that's what's happening at the White House. They are not concerned about your ability to do the job. If you can check a box so that Karine Jean-Pierre can go into the briefing room and say, hey, this is the first one of these who's ever been in government. There you go.
The first them baggage stealing nuclear secretary.
Well, the good news that we'll leave you with before we say Merry Christmas to you is stealing women's luggage was a bridge too far, even for this administration. And with that, we wish you well. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, and we'll be back next week with our New Year's predictions. We should do some predictions on what the new year will bring. Sure, why not? Until then, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.